it's very difficult for Rishi Sunak because obviously, he's made this one of his key things. He stands in front of a platform that says stop the boats on it, and so it's very difficult for him. It's an admitting failure on his part, I suppose, if he was to remove anyone from that. Although, as we do know, there is a reshuffle coming, so we could perhaps see something in the autumn if they do want to try and change the dial.
The Home Office has been branded incompetent by some Tory MPs after it was forced to remove all migrants from the Bibby Stockholm barge because traces of Legionella bacteria were found in the water system. It means the barge could now be out of action for weeks, so probably not the way the government hoped their Small Boats Week would end. Alain Tolhurst is chief reporter for Politics Home. Good morning.
Good morning, Callum.
Good to speak to you. Right, so here we are. I mean, this is now surely at the point of farce, isn't it? The removal of dozens of asylum seekers back off the barge and back into hotels because of a health scare. What do we know about what happened here, the timeline of events?
Well, I think that's the most difficult thing for the government that they're facing, really, because obviously these things sometimes might happen on a boat, but it's how it was dealt with, as the Times was reporting that the bacteria was discovered during routine testing last week and reported to contractors on Monday before people were first taken in. The Home Office was only told on Wednesday. Downing Street was only told on Thursday, which means that actually after the Home Office was told on Wednesday, more people were taken on board on Thursday, even though the Home Office knew the potential risk, and then obviously everyone had to be evacuated yesterday. So it doesn't look particularly good for the government in that sense. It looks, as you say, a bit of a farce. And this week, where they were hoping to focus all the attention on their plans to try and end the backlogs in asylum and tackle the small boat crisis, it ends not with a barge full with hundreds of asylum seekers, but instead it sits empty and a potential health hazard in itself.
And so it emerges now into the weekend, Alan, that, I mean, Tory criticism of Tories is not necessarily a new thing, but there seems to be quite a lot of anger about the way this has all gone.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of that is this row over whether the UK should pull out of the ECHR, the European Convention on Human Rights. And so there's a feeling amongst some Conservative MPs that essentially the government will never be able to follow through on its plans to tackle the asylum backlog unless we leave it. Whereas there are others, lots of senior Tories like Bob Neal, chair of the Justice Committee, Sir John Redwood, former cabinet minister, who think that that's a preposterous idea and that we shouldn't be trying to leave this group. There are other countries in Europe that are quite tough on migrants who are still part of it. And the only countries really that have removed themselves are Russia and Belarus. We do really want to be aligning ourselves with Russia and Belarus, but this is the arguments that are going on within the Conservative Party. The failure, essentially, over the past couple of years to deal with this means that we're now at this point where Tories are arguing with each other over it.
And what about the criticism in this context now of the Home Office as well, and of the Home Secretary and of immigration ministers, etc.? There is some sort of messages, I suppose, from Conservatives this morning saying that, the blunders at the Home Office are too many, that the department's responsible for too many major policy areas, crime, migration, terror, and it's not handling them well.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Home Office is a huge department, which is often seen as a bit of a basket case. And it is interesting in the department in the sense that it does have these ministers of state. There's the terror minister, Tom Tugendhat, and the immigration minister Robert Jenrick have obviously been out a lot this week. And so they do have these quite, more high-profile junior ministers to try and take on these various elements of it. But still, the fact is that we come to the end of, as you pointed out, Small Boats Week when the government wants to focus on this. And, they've hit this target of 100,000, it's unwanted and arbitrary target of 100,000 people arriving by small boats since 2018. We had the highest amount coming in a single day on Thursday as the weather has improved. And yeah, their current flagship policy that using the Bibby Stockholm now sitting empty. So yeah, it's understandable that people think that perhaps there does need to be change. It's very difficult for Rishi Sunak because obviously he's made this one of his key things. He stands in front of a platform that says stop the boats on it, and so it's very difficult for him. It's an admitting failure on his part, I suppose, if he was to remove anyone from that. Although, as we do know, there is a reshuffle coming, so we could perhaps see something in the autumn if they do want to try and change the dial.
Oh yeah, the long-awaited reshuffle, which
indeed,
will
yes, we might finally get it at some point. Yeah.